Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the RealTalkLaz Podcast. I'm your host, Laz. This is our second podcast episode of season 2, and I'm super excited to have Madeline joining us today. I appreciate you joining, Madeline. It's an honor, and thank you so much for being on here and joining us today. So, I know you and I have talked a little bit, on social media, and things like that. But for the viewers either watching on YouTube or Instagram, or maybe listening to us on Spotify, who's Madeline? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hi everybody, thanks for having me on. I'm Madeline Hatch. Let's see, where do I even begin? I'm a personal trainer. I decided to go hybrid, so I coach people online as well as in person, and I've been doing that for a couple couple years now. I live here in the Bay Area, in San Francisco area on the West Coast. Let's see what else. I'm 31. I think we'll kind of open with that.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you. And again, thank you for being on here today. So, I guess to jump right in, right? So, obviously, the Real Talk Labs, like we focus primarily around mental health, right? And how we've had like mental health challenges previously, and we've kind of overcome them and still work on them on day to day, right? Because it's always a work in progress. So, for yourself, like what's something you've been through that most people wouldn't guess or think of when looking at you?
Yeah, I think that I definitely come off and always have come off as pretty shy or meek or um, not really. I've been told even the other day that I'm very salt and pepper, which I guess is an older generation's way of saying that I'm very plain in personality, and I was just like, oh, interesting. I mean, I think
Yeah.
until you like actually get to know somebody, you can't really always say that, but
Yeah.
um, that is kind of sort of a first impression that people get, which is um, neither here or there. But I think what people start to realize is that actually I am pretty opinionated and powerful, and I have things to say and to share, and I'm actually pretty insightful. And so yeah, I think that's just kind of something that right off the bat people don't really expect. So yeah.
Gotcha. No, and that's fair. I think a lot of people too, like, I mean, even myself, like I consider myself like a introverted extrovert at the same time. Like I'm very like quiet at first and very observant to everyone, right? And until I get to know someone or have some conversations, then I start to like loosen up a little bit and open up a little bit more. But similar to myself, like that's the first thing people typically say. It's like, hey man, like you're like very reserved, very bland, or very vanilla, right? Which whatever it is, what it is, but it's no one to really judge, especially if that's your personality. So, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's like extroverted sort of qualities to come off as more, like I come into the room and I am the powerful energy, and it's like, but there's kind of something nice about being a little bit on the introverted side too, and being observant. So yeah.
yeah, no, 100%. Now, I guess in regards to mental health and things like that, was there a time where you realize you have maybe something to work on with your mental health perspective, and something had to potentially shift, whether it was personal or business or anything along those lines?
Oh yeah, I mean, we can start from like the very beginning. There's always been things that, alongside of like just being a little bean sprout and growing. Yeah, I've always had a journal by my side, and so I've been an avid journaler since probably like 9 or 10 years old. That was probably also about the same time that I actually started working out too, um, and I just intuitively just knew that these were like really good ways of having an outlet of whatever we're going through, and have just carried those two habits with me ever since then. So now I'm like 31 and still do these things on a daily, almost a daily basis. And they are definitely the things that have like, the exercises kept me having the endorphins, being, happy and happy enough to get through rough patches, and then the journaling itself has allowed me to like go deep and to like uncover different things and process life and discover new things and just record memories and all that kind of stuff. And so, like, oh my gosh, countless times there have been like mindset shifts and things like that.
Gotcha. Now, do you ever often like look back and like see how far you've come and things like that?
Yeah, there's definitely been times where I've I've looked back in them and without very much intention or, like what am I going to find? I am very surprised a lot of the times of how my language is different and how, I've evolved over time. I don't sound nearly as naive or young as I did then, and now I'm like actually trying to go through it again, but now with more of an intention to actually like pull some of the things out of there to maybe, potentially make content out of it that's like maybe relatable to other people. Like, have you ever thought these things before? And,
Mm-hmm.
how can you move past all these things? So it's very real because I can't even remember all of the things that I've been through, but it helps to know that, like, that's been there before. As long as I have those as my evidence, as my pieces of evidence to show that it's possible to get through it and evolve and grow, and then I think that would be like super helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think so. I journal myself as well, and that's a big thing that I started doing like many years ago when I started working like on my mental health journey itself. It's like I have like all these thoughts in my head of like doubts, excitement, right, you name it, all like the big emotional roller coaster, right? So I would essentially write everything down, either early morning or at night before going to sleep, right? It's like, hey, like today, this is what I want to accomplish, or at night, like here are the things that went well, here are the things that could do better, and then here are maybe some things that have just recently happened in my life, right? Whether it's like a family member passing, whether it's something exciting at work, whether it's a trip, whatever that case might be. Because you brought up a good point, like with leveraging kind of your experience for others, like you don't realize how many people are going through the same thing we are, right? And because no one really talks about it, right? And, I know we talked about it earlier, but like my whole thought behind this platform was like to give the people that are thinking the same thing, like the reassurance, right? Like, hey, you're not alone, right? Like, so whatever you've gone through, maybe I haven't gone through it myself, but I've gone through something similar, or maybe I have, right? Or whatever the connection may be is like, because, frankly, like myself, like it took me a long time to accept that, right? And I, even hearing like other people, I was like, oh, like that was never me, right? Oh, I'm not like that, or I'm like this. And you quickly realize like you are, right? And
Yeah.
the acceptance pieces for me, so like what kind of like led me down this path, but I agree that like journaling, and it's almost like a vet session, right? Like you're emptying out all these thoughts and emotions onto a piece of paper, as silly as it may sound, that like it's literally just a sheet of paper or your laptop or whatever it is, but it's such a helpful feeling, to help you feel better and just get you through the day, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would not be, I guess, the person that I am today without it. I know, like so many of like my friends and peers and whatnot at the time just didn't have like the same outlet or the same, um, you know, a, a capacity, I suppose, to understand how helpful it was. And so they would resort to like other things. And, and still to this day, they kind of battle with these other things, drugs and alcohol, and, you name it. And so it is very interesting to see how something that, kind of seems silly, kind of seems like we're just writing on a piece of paper and whatnot, but just how it kind of, in a religious sense, keeps you like on the straight and narrow and, to the holy path, whatever.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, and I've just always really appreciated it and how it's kind of kept me healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like I look back sometimes, and I'm like, wow, like I either I was really going through it, or I was like, I'm really proud of like, how much you overcome. And then,
Yeah.
you start to learn to appreciate it, right? Like at first, it almost felt like a chore, right? Like, oh, I got to write this down or I got to do this. And then now it's a part of like my daily like operating rhythm, right? Like, oh, I know most recently I've been doing it at night just because I felt like, so my wife's a teacher, and in the summer she's off, right? And we're like, go, 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 go all day, whether work, after work, which is great, but I feel like at night I leverage that to like wind down, right? And to like relax a little bit. So it's been great to do that, and then now that kind of she's back to work and things are a little bit slower, I'll start off my day with like the gratitude, if you will, and leverage that. But yeah, it's interesting to see like how that task can be so helpful, and it's such a great outlet to your point.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I have definitely shifted from like, oh, I'll go in the morning because it sets the tone of the day versus, I'll go in the afternoon because then it also kind of just sets the tone for the next day. But now I've become kind of the type to like, since now I work for myself and I get to work at home. I will get a good chunk of work done. I'll have a little break. I have it right here next to me, so I use a digital one.
Okay. Yep.
And I use the notes section and I'll just write a little thing like, so far, this is what's going on today. Or if I have something on my mind, I can just kind of write it all out there. Yeah, with the schedule that I have right now, it's like I'm working out first thing in the morning, then I have my class, then it's just, straight into other work. So I'm like, well, when the heck do I have time? And I figured, okay, there's little pockets of time. And so I, just to make it like also kind of like realistic into anybody's life, you can't say that you're so busy that you can't fit it in and not, prioritize yourself in that way. There's always like little pockets of time to where you can like squeeze it in there and make it happen.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if it's definitely a priority, you make it a priority, right? Just like everything else. Yeah. No, good point. And I guess, where was there a time ever, in your, either fitness journey or mental health journey where you realized that you had to kind of shift perspective and maybe, aside from journaling, like anything else that would come to mind for you to kind of get yourself back to that straight and narrow, or put yourself in that position?
Yeah, so you mean like if I'm kind of deviating from goals or being,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can kind of speak to more of a recent experience of like transitioning between working a 9 to 5 to then working for myself. It's kind of like a little bit of an oh shit kind of scary thing to do.
Yeah.
and and how I feel like I've kind of overcome that so far is uh, something my dad always told me, and it's a common thing. Just feel the fear and do it anyways, because like I feel like that just reminds me, oh right, like if I care enough about what I do right now, it's not just going to happen in a month. It might not even take 2 months. It's probably going to take a couple months for this, for my own coaching to like pick up. And so, um, yeah, it was just kind of get into a new system, get into a new rhythm, um, and just having something to like hold on to, right? Just the mental vision of like, what am I trying to build? It had to be something that I had to ask myself on a daily basis. And there are times where I kind of would, I would get exhausted because I'm wearing like 10 different hats in a day of like having to market, having to be a personal trainer, having to reach out to so many people and all these things. It really, it can be exhausting.
Yeah, of
and
course.
um, and so what just kind of like kept me on the straight and narrow of making sure that those things were also met, but that I wasn't like, like burning the candle on both ends and like, making sure that I actually get through this season, um, was just relying on my family, my partner, those who have been like huge for me, and just making sure that when I do have, a system and a routine. And um, yeah, those are like the two biggest things. The system and a routine have been the things that I've had to like stick on to and really capitalize off of those two things.
Gotcha. No, and I give you a lot of credit because I know it's it's a big step, right? Because you're working 9 to 5, and you have all these things going on, and you have like the big this too is like the financial piece, right? So I give you a lot of credit to like take that leap and obviously go on your own way and build your own empire, if you will, because that's huge, right? That's a big thing, right? And a big doubt that a lot of people have, but ultimately, like, you bet on yourself at the end of the day, 100 times again and again, right? So super commendable on that, because that's huge, and I think that's a lot of people's biggest fears, like the either financial or like even like the stability, right? Like, are they disciplined enough to have their own schedule, right? Like even like on me, like when I take vacation, obviously it's vacation, or I'll take some time off from work and I'll do like a staycation at home. But like the first couple of days, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like I'm doing nothing, right? Like I'm doing whatever. And then quickly you realize, like, without some sort of a routine, you like just fall into like the either doom scrolling on your phone, or just watching TV, which is like a complete waste of time. Like after so long, right? Like if you're like, 2, 3, 4 months of doing that, you're like, all right, like something's gonna change, right? So I definitely commend you on that for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And to me it's like it's kind of become second nature now, but yeah, that is a big motivator because yeah, like to some extent after a couple of years of like finding your own success in it, whatever, you create some version of freedom for yourself, but it's like the momentum piece, the
Yeah.
momentum aspect. Like I feel like we're kind of sold on this idea of like, oh, you work for yourself, you get like all this freedom, you get all of this flexibility, and it's like not necessarily in the beginning, maybe later on,
Mm-hmm.
but like in the very beginning, it's like you've got to like set the foundation and solidify the foundation, and then you can. But yeah, I digress a little bit.
No, and that's fair. And I think a lot of it too is like being realistic with like yourself too, right? Like, so to your point, like you understand it's not going to be an overnight thing, right? As much as you would love it to be, it's just realistic, right? Which is phenomenal, right? Because there's a lot of people, even on social media, like that think if they don't get that quick viral hit, that quick hit, like it's over, right? And it's like, well, yes and no, but like you have to be realistic. Like even for myself, like when I came on this journey of like doing videos or posting or having some sort of a platform, like for me mentally, it's like I knew this is going to be like a long-term thing for me, right? So it's that marathon mindset. So yeah, I'm going to pace myself. Yeah, I'm going to have days where I post most consistently, weeks, you name it. And then there's other weeks where I'm okay if I post once a week, right? Like that's fine. But I have that expectation and realistic, I guess, mindset for myself where, going into something, if you don't, right, and if you're just like, hey, I'm going to post because I'm going to get viral, or hey, I'm going to post because I want to break something immediately, like you may be lucky and you may not be, right? And I think that turns a lot of people off because they don't get that quick success, right? And I think their mindset needs to be shaped a little bit better, just to be realistic, man. Like at the end of the day, yeah, it could go very well for you overnight, or realistically a couple months and a couple or a year, whatever that looks like, but it all stems from yourself.
Exactly. I know, and I would be lying if I said I have not thought about throwing in the towel at least a couple times already of just like, do I know what I'm doing? Like, having the questions of doubt and fear and worry of like, am I gonna actually be able to make this work? But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, um, yeah, just having to what's gotten me through that at least is watching other people who have built very successful businesses on their own and who have had gone through the same fears, doubts, and worries, and their own story and how they like pulled through and made it work. And I always find it to be like so motivating. I'm like, all right, let's do this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, everyone that's built a successful business, like you said, has had these doubts, right? Because after a while, you start to like reality sets in, right? But if you stay consistent, if you stay motivated, like you just got to keep pushing through, and then that success will come. And I forgot who said it, but they were like, if people are in a business for the money up front, right? Like you're just thinking all about the money, the amount of money, it won't work out as if you're just thinking about the long-term success, right? So like if you're like, hey, I'm coaching people to help people, I'm coaching people to do the right thing, the money is going to come, right? The success is going to come. But a lot of folks unfortunately aren't like that, right? And you can tell, especially when you talk to them, it's like very, very business oriented, right? In the sense of like transactional, right? And it's interesting to see like a relationship person, right? To build that relationship versus someone that's very transactional, and that can definitely come across as not the best, if you will, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And that's honestly like what I see too often in the space of
Mm-hmm.
like coaching or personal
Oh
training or
yeah.
whatever. And I see that way too often where it's like how to make 10K like, within this amount of time, and it's like it's eye-catching and I see why it gets people. It
Mm-hmm.
totally kind of sucked me in there for a minute and got me kind of thinking like, oh yeah, like very transactional like that.
Yeah.
Um, but then I realized like these are real people that you're going to be helping. Like you you know, cannot just treat them like that. And, like once you do start working with them, you have to keep producing results, otherwise they're going to go away. And so you have to like focus on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does make way more sense to like focus on them, focus on the change, focus on the micro transformations that you're giving them on like a daily, weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like how they just want to keep coming back to you. And it's I've even proven it to myself already quite a few times of like you just be a good person
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep yes, build the business, yes, put in the systems and put in understand how it all works, but still keep the human in you that understands that there's a human on the other side who's struggling and who needs help. And yeah, you just know that
No.
they're more likely to go away if you just treat them transactionally.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and like especially in your industry where there's so many other people, right, that they can go to, right, and like obviously cost is a big factor too, right, like cost and things like that. But at the end of the day, people are gonna pay for someone that they like, right? Like, so they're gonna pay for the money for someone that they feel comfortable with, they feel valued with, right? Versus
Yeah.
some coaches I've seen it online, or even like for Instagram, now that I've been like more active and like on, and I'll get messages like, oh, like, I can turn your profile into like 100,000 followers and this and that, and it's like a big
Oh God,
scam
yeah.
always, right? For the most part, oh, send me this money or whatever. But the thing is, people fall for it, right? So, and that's a whole different tangent, but its own separate video. But no, I mean, obviously, good for you to just be genuine, right? And at the end of the day, there's people behind the screen, right? Like it's not just some robot, right? Or not just some person that's gonna do whatever just because you say so, right? Like you have to put yourself in their shoes as well, and see it from their perspectives.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
cool. And then I guess kind of. I know we talked about briefly. You mentioned the journaling and things like that. When you, I guess, maybe started your business or left that 9 to 5. Excuse me. From a mental health perspective, like how did you keep yourself going, right? Like how did you, come to that, like today's the day, I'm leaving my job and I'm gonna go full force. Like how did that look like for you?
Yeah, so um it was just kind of a progression of observation, really. Like it was I graduated, got my bachelor's in business administration. I took on a personal training gig and then realized, oh, if I just take everything I've learned from here, I didn't really like the boss. He didn't really like me. it became kind of a toxic situation. So I left, and then I actually used my degree and got a 9 to 5 in telecom and telecommunications, and it was definitely a step up. It was lovely, it was great, it was a learning experience. I liked it. And then came kind of the tug of like, do I keep doing this or do I go into what I just learned previously and how this could really be beneficial for people? Because here I keep going to work and seeing how people just kind of mistreat their bodies, and they're just like, let's go out and on their lunch breaks and let's go out down the street to this place, or which is fine and all, but you just see over time that their bodies are atrophying and they're just not as healthy as they could be, and they're and it wasn't really until yeah, a certain point where I just thought like, I like this, and I like being able to dress up, I like being able to look cute for work, and then being able to just type on a computer all day and do my job and all these kind of things. And but it wasn't until I had a moment where I thought like, I think that I have kind of a deeper purpose other than to just fixate on how I dress up and how I present myself at work and how do I talk to my coworkers and whatnot. It was way more about like how I see people. And it was really hard actually for me not to dissect the people that I worked with, even though they were able to just go through the motions of everything throughout the day and go to the meetings and do the work and go home and do it all over again. I felt like I was actually seeing people. That was the differentiating moment, was I could see people, but the people could only see the projects that was in front of them. They weren't seeing people. And I was just sitting there looking at these people that I was working with, and it was all over. It was kind of just wherever I went to. It wasn't really just work, but you have some thinking time when you're at work and you can kind of just observe and see what's going on around you too. Um, yeah, and so that ties into kind of like what I'm getting into now, and so yeah, I just had that moment where I was like, I think I need to get into this, and kind of just need to go for it. And so it was pretty clean. It was pretty like, I just went in there, made it happen, went home kind of that day, and just thought like, okay, this is it. Like, I need to go full force into this and make it happen. So yeah, here it's been like, that was in February when I did that, and here we are in September.
Okay. Wow. Awesome. Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I give you lots of courage to do that, and like lots of kudos, man, because it's a big step. So definitely, keep that momentum going, and day by day. So cool.
Yeah,
All right. And then I
definitely.
guess the last question I would have is, if you can go back to your younger self during a tough time, what would you tell them?
Yeah. I don't know. I think about that pretty often, and I don't really ever know what to say, which is kind of strange, but like, only because I feel like at the time, I don't know if I would have listened. I was
Solid
kind
point.
of,
Yeah.
yeah. I think if I went back to like my 20-year-old self, in my 20s, there's a couple like life sort of things I would have told myself, like, that would have just kind of collapsed the time, because I see people now who are very successful in business, and they've been doing this since they were 20. But I have this story that like, oh, I needed to experiment all in my 20s and then get my ish together in my 30s. Whereas now I'm seeing people, oh, like, this 20-year-old, started this business, and, or like this business coach that I've been following for a while, and she's been doing this since she was like 28, or since she was 18, and now she's almost 28. So she's like already been in doing this for like, 10 years. And I'm like, dang it, like, I, could have been a little bit further along in a way too. So there are some things where I would have said like, maybe don't date that guy, maybe start investing sooner, maybe, just things like that that would have collapsed the time. And I probably maybe even would have told myself, don't bother going to college. That might be like a strong opinion. Just because of what I do now didn't really, I mean, it was great experience, and I can use my associate's degree in psychology now too, and I use my business administration degree for the business aspect, so maybe it was kind of worth it, but directly those were meant for working as a school psychologist, or with the business admin, it's like, business development sort of degree or jobs once you get that degree. And so
Mhm.
they're all on track for something. And I feel like I took all that knowledge and just went like, oh, I'm going to go on my own train track and like do my own thing. And so maybe that's what I'd tell myself, is that like, you're going to find your own path. It's literally going to be very strange. It's going to be very different, and you know, don't freak out about it. It's actually going to work out just fine. And so, yeah, I think that's what
No,
I would say.
no, that's fair. Right. So like I'm similar as well, I think, in age, right? So I'm 30, I just turned 33, right? So we're not too far apart. And I think in life, like if I always tell myself, like if I can look back, like kind of similar to you, like would I even listen to like, oh yeah, sure, whatever, right? Like, hey, do this or do that, because I was pretty like hard headed, right, in my 20s. I thought I had the whole world figured out, right? And newsflash, you didn't. But it's all good, and that's how we learn. Because now, to your point, like you go online, like you see these like either like YouTubers or like all these other guys, and they're like 18, 19-year-old billionaires. You're like, damn, like what happened, right? But how I kind of like leverage that for myself, it's like everyone starts different, right? Like our own journeys are different, right? Like my journey post college is not what I anticipated, right? Like I was supposed to go into the military and be an officer, right? And I went to military college for 4 years. I graduated with the anticipation of that's what's going to happen. Like I was going to commission, and unfortunately, I couldn't due to medical, my vision. So that my whole life kind of took a course there, right? Then I had to figure out like what the hell I wanted to do. So my life, my 20s wasn't very straight and narrow in the sense of like my career wasn't like a perfect trajectory, right? I had to figure out what to do. And that took some time, right? And then with that, like, okay, now where I felt like I had a solid, strong foundation, grow from there. So, I'm kind of with you. Like, would I tell myself, hey, do something different? Yes and no. But I think the biggest thing I tell myself looking back is like, absorb everything you can for your advantage, right? Like to your point, like, yeah, you did XYZ experience, but like you learned from your your BA degree, like some sort of business process, right? So now you can apply that, right, from a psychology perspective, like talking to people, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
huge in your fields, right? So understanding like it may not be directly impactful at the time, but like learning how to kind of absorb as much as I can to benefit me. I think long term would be my goal. And yeah, because I mean, now like with everything in life, like you feel like, am I ahead? Am I behind? Right? Like, am I in a good spot? Like all these like
Yeah.
thoughts into your mind. Um, but like yeah, I always just tell myself like, hey, like there's people doing very well more than I am, by light years ahead at my age, and there's unfortunately people that are just starting off as well, right? So like, there's no good or bad. I think as long as your mindset's to do better, right? Then that's all that matters, because that was big too. Like even for me, like growing up, like, oh, I got to be married or I got to get engaged or I got to live on my own or because, XYZ is all doing that. And I quickly realized like, nah, man, like if it happens, it happens. I'm on like my own role, right? Like I'm on my own course. Because there's no need for doing all that, just to say you're doing it, but yeah, so I could definitely relate to you on that sense of like just take as much as I can to absorb and do better.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, it was almost like romanticizing it a little bit. You like, as from my perspective, you get the princesses, the typical, Disneyland princesses. I was
Oh yeah.
obsessed with them growing up, and so yeah, you hear their story, you think like, oh, it's just gonna be like that for me one day.
Yeah.
It's still kind of like the narrative. It's still kind of like uh, the thing to talk about and to like, realize that like, yeah, that's not always the case. I mean, maybe for some people, but it's, we all have our little paths and divots, and it's really just about how long can you stick to something to actually see, the fruition of it. Like, you practice. That was something my dad also told me, was that um, everything is just practice. Everything in life that we do is just practice. And it was something that it almost seemed like he needed to hear that. Like it was something he learned, but like still kind of like liked to voice something that he liked, that he learned himself, but he wanted to pass it on to me too. Um, and so yeah, he would just say like like literally everything you do is practice. The way you show up is practice. The way you speak is to other people is practice. The way you operate in your business is all practice. The way you like practice with your relationships, oh my gosh, having a partner and whatnot, like it's all just practice, and you recommit to it every day, and then over time you realize, oh wow, like the reason why a relationship is special is, the amount of time you've practiced. That's what we're really celebrating, is like, 50th anniversary, we're gonna celebrate. It's you're cheersing basically to like the practice you put in, the amount of forgiveness you put in, all that kind of stuff. And so, um, yeah, and so to have like, 20 something years of journals, I've definitely put in the reps and the practice. To have 20 years of exercising and whatnot, you put in the practice, um, and so you see kind of like where your life is meant to go in a
Mhm.
sense that way.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too, and I know you talked on it, is like, right, like as fairy tales and as like perfect cookie cutter lives, like would be awesome. Like that also, like our experiences, your life's journey, my life's journey, and everyone else's like listeners, like it's indirectly molded us, right? And there's no cookie cutter way of making, like, getting into a fitness routine, right? For example, like in your case, for your clients, like there's no cookie cutter way, right? Like whatever may work for client A may not work for client B, right? Same thing with like mental health. Like there's no one all fix all solution, right? Because if not, we'd all be better, right? So I think it's like learning like what works for you, and it takes time, right? And truly reflecting like, okay, what works for me, what doesn't, and then applying those things to your point, like just practicing what does work, and being consistent, because that'll work over time, right? I know we talked about it earlier, but like with like even like social media or whatever the case is, like people do it just to do it, right? And they think it's going to be a quick success, or they think they're going to make a quick buck. And like, yeah, you might get lucky and do that. You fall into that whatever algorithm, right? If that's even a thing. But, and you get success from that way. But that 0.001% of the people that happens to, like, it doesn't work like that for everybody else, right? So, I think the biggest thing for people too is like to realize like, there's no easy way to mental health. There's no easy way to fitness. There's no easy way to building a business, right? Like there isn't any easy, perfect path, because if not, the whole world would have done it already, right? But it takes a certain character to grind and learn and be willing to I guess adapt as well, right? A big thing, and take the losses, take the wins, right? And just constantly think of that end goal, whatever that may be.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely emphasize on the adaptability. You have to be
Mm-hmm.
willing to be adaptive, and that's not always, I've been a little bit stubborn, a little bit of like, no, things are gotta go a little bit of my way, and now it's just, you realize that if you want something, and you realize that a part of what you want requires you to be adaptive and requires you to like go with the ebbs and flow of things and to up level your skills and up level, just about everything that you do, then you have to be like, all right, I'm gonna bite the bullet on this one. gonna
Yeah.
gonna just, try it and then see, does it actually not only align with who you are, but does it actually work for you then? And does it actually show that it's, possible? So yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to take that risk, right? Whether it's short term, long term, but just to see if that change is worth it, right? Because we may not realize it. So, all right, cool. And then I guess not so much a question, but from a social media perspective or things like that, where can people follow you or find you or reach you on social media?
Yes. Um, let's see. Madeline Hatch 21. I've kept it pretty simple. So if everyone can see names down here right at the bottom of our screen. So then it would be my first and last name, but then with the 21 after. That's probably the best way to
Perfect.
reach me that way. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I'll put it in the interview, or not interview, in the podcast episode. And then when I post it on social media, I'll make sure to tag you as well. That way followers can reach out and, if they have any questions, fitness, coaching, whatever you name it, they can reach out to you and kind of get that their path going as well.
Very
So
cool.
awesome. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you today. I really do appreciate your time. This is going to be posted on Spotify, Apple as well, and then all the other social media platforms as well, just to continue spreading not only my message but your positivity as well. So appreciate you all for joining or listening today, and then obviously for you as well for taking the time out of your day. And we will talk soon and have a great day.
Thank you.